UFC Austin recapping. We knew going in that the judges in Austin, Texas, not Austin, Texas, Texas in general, just terrible. And the fighters, well, they knew it too. So everyone decided to just go out, go balls to the walls, and end these things all within 90 seconds. So absolutely crazy card. On one hand, super violent, super entertaining. On the other hand, like really quick violence. Like this stuff wasn't second round, third round, prolonged beatings. Just a lot of quick action. Picks, not so great. What I got killed with was the very first pick on the card, Daukaus, who I had a ton of investment in. And the very last pick on the card, Calvin Kattar, who I had a lot of investment in. So terrible way to start off, terrible way to end off. Not a whole lot of great in between. Some okay reads, but I guess we'll figure out where we went right and the many spots that we apparently went wrong. Starting off with Roman Delites versus the aforementioned Kyle Daukaus. So again, yeah, going in, I think Daukaus is going to have better striking. He's going to have better volume. Wrestling, takedown defense good enough to keep the fight standing. Jiu-jitsu good enough to keep himself safe at his fight to the ground. Wear this guy down, take him into some deeper waters, put the pace on him, and eventually he's just going to either beat him up standing or the fight's going to hit the ground. Daukaus ends up on top. The guy's a pretty competent BJJ black belt. I think he's going to eventually take this down the stretch. Now, we all know with Roman Delites, if he is going to be dangerous, going to be early. I mean, the guy's one of these wild Georgians, absolutely ripped, sickening shape on this guy. Used to fight at heavyweight, dropped down to light heavyweight. Now he fights at 185 pounds and just absolutely ripped up. I mean, we'll talk about Guram Kudelic later, but man, these guys have just got like excellent DNA, I guess. Anyways, comes out, they're exchanging early, and then there's a headbutt. How much does that headbutt affect anything? I don't know. I don't think it's a concussed-worthy headbutt. I don't think Kyle Daukaus was that much thrown off his game. But at the same time, you're trying to find a rhythm. You're trying to establish some comfort in the octagon in the early goings. You got this guy running at you, charging at you, head down, smacks you in the face. Ref gives you 30 seconds to resume. You resume, and what does the guy do? Doesn't headbutt you, but berserk charges at you again. So maybe you're a little bit hesitant this time around. You keep your head up, and he ends up getting clocked. Once he got clocked, Roman Delites, you can't discredit him. He was just absolutely all over him. Similar to the way Daukaus was all over Kevin Holland. It's an inverted headbutt. The guy's fighting on. You have to fight on. Now he's got scored a clean knockdown, but you got to fight on. But for Delites, it's not his fault. Like whether it did any damage or nothing, he scored a clean knockdown shortly thereafter. He never gave him a chance to recover it. All over him, knee up the middle, sits him down. Ref gave Daukaus a chance to fight back, but you could tell he was hurt. He wasn't going anywhere. Frustrating situation. Terrible way to start the card, that's for certain. I had him on my second line. I was confident in him that he'd get the job done. Did we know it was going to be an issue in the early going? Yeah, we need to extend this thing. And unfortunately for Daukaus, it never quite got there. So he hasn't shown chin issues in the past. And I know some people were a little bit salty and blaming the headbutt. I can't say it affected things that much, but it certainly didn't help. Anyways, bad break to start things off. Phil Hawes versus Duran win. We're on the Phil Hawes side of things. But low-key, I think this thing's going to go 2 rounds. I don't know. I don't know why I thought it was going to go 2 rounds at least, which was like sitting at minus 140. But Phil Hawes absolutely beat the crap out of him. I haven't seen a straight-up beating like this, pillar to post, for 9.5 minutes in a long time. Like, at no point was this competitive. At no point was Duran Win ever in this. Yeah, he landed about half a dozen strikes. And you know, a couple of them are okay, little overhand right, little shuffle hook here and there, but at no point did Duran Win really present any type of issues. Phil Hawes beat the crap out of him the entire time. The first round is as textbook 10-8 as you're ever going to see. He drops him 3 times. He stuns him with basically everything he hits him with. Those short elbows, short distance, killing him. The right hand, long distance, killing him. The forward pressure just causing him to go backwards, like fighting off his back foot at his size. Nah, Duran Win need to shoot takedowns. He need to make this strictly a wrestling affair. Grind, and hope that Phil Hawes got tired from grinding in a wrestling affair. No, doesn't shoot a single takedown. Just sat there and got absolutely shit kicked. Now, on one hand, I'll give him credit. The guy's got a pretty good chin. Phil Hawes hits like an absolute hammer. He took all of Phil Hawes' best shots, and he was standing up. On the other hand, not like he's got some great chin, because he'd get hit and he'd get wobbled, and he was just wobbled the entire time. Like, even when he started to get like the smallest glimpse of momentum going, mostly in the second round, not so much the first, he'd get the smallest glimpse of like, oh, he landed 2 punches in a row consecutively. Oh, maybe it looks like Phil Hawes is getting frustrated from not putting Homer Simpson down. No, he'd get caught with a short elbow. He'd get caught with something clean, and he would just wobble again. So the ref could have stopped this fight. Herb could have stopped this fight at any point. He could have stopped it in the first. He could have stopped it in the second numerous times. And then there's 30 seconds left. And it's like, okay, Herb, if you're going to let the guy die, well, then at least get to the second round so I can cash this minus 140 if it goes 2 rounds. And he stops it with 35 seconds left. But it was the right call because Duran Win took an absolute beating. Now, Hawes has some words with Daniel Cormier afterwards. It's just, theatrics. Doesn't really mean anything. Cormier is retired. He's certainly not coming back for a fight with Phil Hawes, and he's certainly not coming back at anything less than heavyweight. Have you seen the size of him? And Hawes fights at middleweight. So it's all just stupid nonsense because it was his boy. But Cormier, if that really is your boy, like I would have considered throwing the towel in for him. Like he got killed. The coaching staff did him a great disservice. Unless the game plan was just rope-a-dope Muhammad Ali style and just absolutely take the thrashing for the majority of it and somehow pull some great comeback, okay, sure. But Muhammad Ali is the greatest ever, and Duran Win can't seem to get a win. So, yeah, I mean, at least we were on the Phil Hawes side of things. But, again, in hindsight, Phil Hawes should have been a top-ticket play. He killed him. At no point was this competitive. But, it is Phil Hawes, so you always have your reservations. Missed opportunity, perhaps. Cody Stamann versus Eddie Weinland. No missed opportunity there. Everybody's on the same page. He opens up as a huge favorite. He just continuously gains heat all week long. He was everybody's top pick. How does Cody Stamann lose this fight? The only one question mark was, Cody Stamann doesn't seem to knock anybody out. And so is he going to win this fight by knockout? Is he going to win this fight by decision? We talked about in the preview show. We talked about on the prop show this week. It's not so much that Cody Stamann doesn't hit hard as much as he fights extremely tough guys that are very difficult to put away. And Eddie Weinland just can't take the punch anymore. You don't need to be the biggest power puncher. You just need to hit this guy flush. That's what I thought. Just hit this guy flush. So Stamann live for the knockout. He's got all the makings of a top ticket play. And I think he goes off as like a minus 850 favorite come actual bell ring fight time. So yeah, everybody's on the same page. Nothing new here. But goes out. And again, this is where I thought he would just catch Weinland clean with something. It wasn't even clean. It was like a missed shot glanced off the top of Eddie's head. And right away, equilibrium just gone. Buckles over. And at that point, Stamann put it on him. And Eddie took some big shots. It wasn't like he just went out right away. But he took a lot of shots and forced the ref to stop it. And right away, he acknowledges, my days are done. He just peels his gloves off immediately. This is a bad way to go out. A minute knockout loss to Cody Stamann, of all people. But the UFC knew what they were doing. Stamann's taking some really big fights for them. He's a serviceable enough guy that you can build him into some other fights at 135. He needs a win. He needs to win bad. He needs to get his confidence up. And you can see how elated he was and how excited he was that he had just knocked out a journeyman in Eddie Weinland. So it's a confidence thing. He got the confidence he needed. Eddie knew he was on his way out anyways. He was hanging up his gloves. Time was now. We all get it. And so I think maybe Eddie didn't benefit from it, but like everybody else kind of got what they expected out of it. So does that mean Cody Stamann's a power puncher? No, I wouldn't say so. Like I would say against guys with, decent durability, he's still not going to be able to take them out. He was catching Eddie clean with that left hook 3 or 4 times before the ref stopped it. It wasn't like Eddie was all the way out. And this is Eddie Weinland we're talking about. But Cody Stamann's a hard worker, good wrestling, good cardio, comes in shape, super professional. So of course he's got a spot on the roster in a future within the division. And then for Eddie Weinland, yeah, gloves off. This was the end of the road. But former WEC champ, had some huge moments, fought some of the top guys, was just from a different era. And unfortunately, all sports are unforgiving. Like you age out eventually. Just MMA happens to be way more unforgiving because instead of just being some, quarterback who all of a sudden can't throw it as far and you're not as accurate and you just fan out of the league, like guys like Eddie Weinland got to go out getting embarrassed on national television. So it's a tough gig. He's paid his dues to the sport, and I hope he's able to enjoy his afterlife. I believe he's a firefighter, so he's already got stuff going on. Mariana Oliveira versus Claudio De Paula. I'm not going to lie to you. Didn't watch this fight. Could have watched it this morning. Didn't watch it this morning. Oh, what I seem to hear is that De Paula may have won the first 2 rounds. Definitely won the first. Second seems like it was a lot closer, and she loses the third round. So it's going to be a dicey decision, and dicey decisions that are splits tend to go the side of the underdog more often than not. And that's why Pat Mayo, shout out to my boy Pat Mayo, he always just says spam the underdog. Spam the underdog. Women's MMA fight, you don't like it? Spam the underdog. I can't hit these women's MMA fights anyways. Why not just spam the underdog? And he's totally right. 2 fights on this card, both underdogs. 4 women's MMA fights on the last card, 3 of them underdog hits, and nearly hit against Shevchenko. Like, holy shit. But what can you say? It was close. It was competitive. De Paula was a minus 260 favorite. I don't think anybody agreed on that price tag all week long. And when there's limited footage available on the opposition, it's hard to make like a definitive prediction. And in Maria Oliveira's case, you knew that there's some contender series stuff. There was a little bit of, gaps to be filled in, and maybe she was a little bit better than she had shown. The kickboxing looked competitive. The ground game looked like it could be a slight edge towards Paula. But Paula's fight with Diana Balbita last time, it was the same thing. Razor close, 50-50. Could be a split decision. It ended up being unanimous, but could have really gone either way. This thing, same thing. It could have been scored for Paula. I didn't watch it, so I can't tell you how I scored it, but sounds like it could have been scored for Paula. And in the same breath, it was a close, competitive 15-minute fight you knew you're getting yourself into, and it happened to go the other way. Ricardo Ramos versus Danny Chavez. Back on the winning track with this one, we had Ricardo Ramos. But I will admit, I fully expected him to probably win this one by decision because Danny Chavez has shown some decent enough durability. He's fought some decent enough guys. But this card ended up being just very, very violent. You could expect the unexpected. And so when Ricardo Ramos walked up and threw a brilliant spinning back elbow right dead on the money, how many guys are going to stand up to that? I mean, it's a technique he's used in the past. He knocked out Damon Zahabi with it, of course. Something that he spammed a lot in that fight. Like he's comfortable throwing it, but wasn't necessarily timing it all that well till he caught Zahabi. Now he's a little older, a little more mature, got good grappling, good rangy guy. I always liken him to a poor man's Charles Oliveira. And similar to Charles, he's filling into that frame, starting to feel better, more confident, has deadly skill set. He just needs to put it together. And beautiful spinning back elbow to knock out Danny Chavez. Spectacular win. So Ramos, of course, moves forward in the division. Excellent stuff. Chavez, I have a suspicion he'd be released. He did win his UFC debut against TJ Brown, who I believe may has also been released. Regardless, maybe he has, maybe he hasn't, but Chavez has just had no success since then. They haven't done him a great service matching him up against, easy fights, but he's not competitive in any of his last 3 fights, I wouldn't say. And a little bit older, not a bright prospect, doesn't have some great finishing ability, doesn't really bring a whole lot to the table. 4-fight deal would now be expired. You'd have to re-sign him to a new contract, which would mean more money. I think that they would just probably part ways with a guy like this. And he'll probably end up on a Titan FC card, or he'll probably end up on, a Bellator prelim. Could fight on somewhere else if he so chooses to. Just doesn't seem like he's going to cut it at this level. Not even say there's levels within the UFC, right? He could cut it against the Contender Series guys at the bottom. I just mean he's 4 fights in now, so he's not supposed to be at the bottom anymore. He's supposed to be going up, and it just hasn't panned out. Jeremiah Wells versus Court McGee, way off on this one. But this one I'm off for a very similar reason to the Daukaus fight, I believe. Like, I knew that it would be pressure early. It's just I really needed my guys to get out of that first round so that we could start turning the tide, right? That was going to be the turning point, is that if Court McGee could get out of this first round with Jeremiah Wells, he could start taxing the cardio. He could start searching for takedowns. He could start, racking up volume striking. But it just wasn't meant to be. Wells is a fast starter. We know he's a fast starter. And, of course, with Court McGee, never been submitted, so you take the BJJ black belt off the table there, and then been knocked out one time a while ago against a prime Santiago Ponzinibbio. You want to give him a pass. And unfortunately, maybe he's getting a little bit older. Maybe he just got caught with the right shot. Maybe he's taking on Jeremiah fucking Wells, who's coming at you like a bat on fire. the guy put some heat on him and just absolutely blasted him. Court was down before he was out before he even hit the ground. And for a guy that has that good of a chin and that much solid, I wouldn't say legendary durability, but pretty good durability. Yeah, Jeremiah Wells absolutely cracks. And so he's a problem for anybody because maybe you could extend him into the second or third round and beat him, but you're going to have your hands full in the meantime. Good jiu-jitsu, good striking, big power, aggressive. I don't know who wants to sign on the dotted line to fight him, but when you rack up highlight reels like that, it definitely goes a long way. And of course, he should be getting paid for his services. He's a little bit older himself. Didn't get a late start to MMA, just it was never worth his while. Now he's fighting in the UFC, putting together a nice little highlight reel, 3-0, a couple nice little wins, all inside the distance. Yeah, Jeremiah Wells is he's getting paid for his service. And then for Court McGee, tough setback. I don't think they release him. I think you match him up with somebody, but he's another one of these guys that you can't match him up at the high end, right? You can't match him up at the mid-level because he's still not really, he's like lower mid-level. And so he's a good test for these prospects. He's a good test for a guy like Ramiz Brahimaj because Ramiz Brahimaj just might not be that good. He's a good test for a guy like Jeremiah Wells because you want to see how Jeremiah Wells faces a little adversity in the later rounds, which never happened. But he's a good gatekeeper test guy. I just don't know, I don't know. Does he just continue to do that? Is he comfortable with doing that? Totally up to him. But it's Court McGee. He's a bit of a fan favorite. He's been around the block a few times, so we'll always root for him. Natalia Silva versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. Man, I screwed up on this one. So talked about it on the preview show, like Natalia Silva because of the unknowns, right? But it's all narrative, right? It's all narrative. The narrative being this girl started fighting when she was like 18 years old, just turned 18, okay? So she's been in the sport right from the get-go. She shows some solid fights. I mean, her last loss to Marina Rodriguez. She's on a 6-fight winning streak since then. She fought Marina. She was 20 years old. Marina was 30 years old. And now Rodriguez is one of the top contenders in the UFC's division. And this girl's been on for 2-3 years. Like, the footage on her looks like, yeah, her footwork's not very good. And, you know, she's very green in a lot of spots. And that Jungle Fights title fight, oh, yeah, a little bit sloppy here and there. But she wins the fight 4th round armbar. She's got good cardio. She's got a decent enough skill set. She's 22 years old. You get this girl 2-3 years off. She comes back 25 years old, more filled out and more confident in herself, more mature, more of an advanced skill set. It was a lot of heavy unknowns. And then Jasmine's a minus 230 favorite. So it's not even like they're saying, well, she should win. They're saying like, oh, yeah, definitely should be able to beat. Based on what? Based on stuff you've seen a while ago. So it was a trap line right from the get-go. And when we talked, Paula and I talked with Pat on the preview show, I was like, I wouldn't take both women's MMA favorites. I think one of the dogs is hidden, but I wouldn't go with both dogs. Pat saying go both dogs. I wouldn't go with both dogs. I think I'd probably take Natalia Silva. And then, yeah, I mean, send out props. Send out the plays. It's lower on the list. It wasn't like I had confidence either side, but yeah, maybe it's the Canadian factor. For me, it was the wrestling factor. I thought, okay, well, this girl can wrestle and she should be able to use a little bit of that size, get a hold of her and peel her to the ground. But no, serious overestimation. Everything about Natalia Silva that we speculated could be true proved to be true. Bigger, faster, stronger. Beat her up in every element. Beat her to the punch, better volume, better striking technique, more power. Stuffed all 6 takedowns from Jasmine Jasudavicius. Took her down twice on 3 attempts. Like, was just the better fighter. And that's what time off will do for these young fighters. So it's just, you know, it's more of a lesson that I should have learned 100 times over because I'm a veteran of this stuff. I've learned my lessons, right? This is a lesson I've learned 100 times over, especially with Brazilians. The 2-3 year layoff don't matter, especially when they're young. Don't matter. They're going to come back much better, right? You can't always just be like, oh, yeah, 3 years ago they couldn't move. It's like, that was a long time ago, right? That was like probably the entirety of their pro career at that point was 3 years. Now they've taken off a full 3 years to come back. Could be devil, could be trouble. And of course she's at Paula Costa's gym, so like, who the hell knows what's going on there? But I mean, yeah, missed opportunity for sure. Adrian Yanez versus Tony Kelly. At least this is one that I switched in the right direction. Is that for Tony Kelly to be effective in this fight, he really needs to make it a scrap, a brawl, stand in the pocket, and just continuously put pressure for 15 minutes. And when he missed weight, furthermore, looked like shit at the weigh-ins, I was like, all right, he's probably not going to have the gas in the tank to push that pace that he needs to against Adrian Yanez. Yanez is a cleaner, more precise, better technical striker. But if you can make it a dogfight, way Davey Grant was able to do so, well, at that point, you could make this a much closer fight than need be. And at the odds, it made sense to maybe take that Tony Kelly flyer. But again, missing weight's always a big red flag because it's the UFC. They're going to hold you accountable for this stuff. It's not some regional show where you can just call them the week of and be like, let's just do a catchweight of 160 or what? I don't know. In this case, it would have been a catchweight of 140. Like, you can't just call and negotiate a few extra pounds. UFC, got to make it. So no doubt about it, he would have tried his best to make it. Again, he didn't look good at the scales. Neither did Donald Cerrone, but apparently he wasn't the one that pulled out. Crazy thing. But with Kelly, yeah, that gave me just a bad impression. So again, I didn't put Yanez high up. I just switched to Yanez, but I kept him low because I still had an uneasy feeling about it. It was enough for me to switch the other way and go with Adrian Yanez. And then he, I wouldn't say it was a masterclass because he did get busted up a few times, but Kelly didn't come out as aggressive as he needed to. Maybe it's a bad weight cut. Maybe he's trying to conserve himself, but he's kind of staying back. He's trying to laying back the first few minutes, and that's allowing Yanez to beat him to the punch and carve him up. Then when he decided that he wanted to get aggressive, he came forward. He's just getting melted to the body. He was getting caught with clean counters. He got wobbled a few times. Once he got dazed the first time, he did recover, but never to the same full form that he was when he started the fight. Like, he never really fully regained his wits about him. He was always a little bit dazed, a little bit off balance. And then he got a little bit of momentum going, landed 2, 3, 4 punches in a row, started to come forward, started to back him up. But as he would get that little glimpse of moments where it's like, oh, he landed a couple punches, oh, he's coming forward, he gets sloppy, looking to make it a brawl, which I guess he did need to do, but he got sloppy and kept his hands down. He would throw one punch and have his other punch at his hip, and Yanez is just too clean, too precise. So he caught him with counters entering. He caught him with counters at distance. He got him with the jab repeatedly. He just kind of had his way with Tony Kelly and eventually put him away. So Yanez is definitely a great prospect. Glad I switched back over to him. But this is, again, somebody that should have been on the top ticket. You know, he was top ticket price. The bookies knew what was up. A lot of people that are Adrian Yanez supporters, they knew what was up. And I don't know. I just thought, you know, a brawl, stay in your face could have some results. And call it the bad weight cut, call it anything. Like, he was just leaps and bounds better than Tony Kelly. So did he show a little bit of blood after the fight? Yeah, sure. But this is a fist fight. This is a prize fight. The fans were entertained. He put on an excellent show. At 135 pounds, this guy's got excellent striking plus good power. The division is just so talent rich. I don't think you throw him in the deep end quite yet, but certainly he's got the potential to work his way into that. And for Kelly, you know, bad. Maybe do you move up to 45? You'd be ineffective at 45. At 35, you're hurting your body. You know, you're not going to be an upper end challenger, but you could be a mid-range guy. It's just, you know, he's got some choices to make, I suppose. Gregory Rodriguez versus Julian Marquez. You know, Julian Marquez is another one of these guys that's tough and could make it a brawl. And if he was able to make it a brawl and extend it into a dirty second or third round and it got really sloppy, then maybe he would catch Gregory Rodriguez. But before any of that could happen, you're dealing with a big talent discrepancy. It's the same thing that Tony Kelly had just faced. You know, I need to make this a dirty fight and take it into the later rounds, but I'm going to get shit kicked in the meantime. Can I withstand it? Kelly had never been knocked out before, and now he just got knocked out pretty good. Marquez has shown a cast iron chin. Gregory Rodriguez crushed him. Dropped him 3 times in the first round, put an absolute picturesque performance on him. Even when he'd have him hurt, he wouldn't just rush in. He'd take his time, land 2-3 shots, peel back. Marquez couldn't land anything on the counter. He was hurt right from the get-go. He pounced on him. You know, maybe he could have used his jiu-jitsu and got it done that way, but it's like, who cares? I've got this guy hurt. I'm just going to keep punching away. And you got to feel for Marquez because he's been taking off a lot of time due to injuries. His body's just not responding the same way. He's, you know, maybe was a talented prospect at one time, thought to be. This is a guy that knocked out Phil Hawes with a head kick on the Contender Series. And now you see Phil Hawes trying to establish himself in the division and get some momentum. Marquez has just gotten the other way. He had come in on back-to-back wins, both submission finishes as well. But at the same token, like beating Sam Alvey, who's on a 6-fight losing streak with the promotion, you know, Maki Pitolo, who you're losing the first 2 rounds to, who's no longer with the promotion. Like, if they were going to give him favor fights, which those were, he can win those favor fights. Maybe his body could still respond to something like that. But they just tested him on that, like, upper mid level of the division, and he got absolutely destroyed. But to Gregory Rodriguez's credit, that guy's an animal, man. Like an absolute savage. He's in wicked good shape. He's got legitimate BJJ, even though it's like not big on submission wins. He's got excellent positional control, good awareness, excellent striking, solid power in his hands. You know, he was the first guy to knock out Iron Turtle, which shows he's got big power. Knocking out Marquez in this fashion continues that big power. And then, of course, even his last fight with Giorgio Petrosian, who he had lost a split decision to. Great fight where he showcased a lot of excellent skills. So did his opponent. So, yeah, of course, we're excited to see Robocop. And he looks old, but apparently he's only like 30, 31 years old or something. So, yeah, if he's going to continue heading in the right direction, again, another scary guy within the division. Damir Ismagulov versus Guram Kudalits. So, I really like Ismagulov this week. I think he's going to win. I think he's going to win by decision. -175 price tag midweek on the money line was very good. The +125, I believe, by decision. Very good. Like all that. Paul and I got a shoey bet going on. And then that makes me nervous because I just can't get Paul in these shoey bets. Like, whoever he chooses, they show up superhuman. And in this case, you know, he's had some success with Guram Kudalits before, trading partner of Khamzat Chimaev. He likes him, backs him. I got my boy Ismagulov. He's 23-1, 4-0 in the UFC. Never lost a round for the most part. Yeah, he got dropped by Alves real quick, but guy's got a solid chin. He's got an advanced skill set. He's going to find a way to win. But the same thing I know with the Kyle Daukaus fight. The same thing I knew with, I suppose, the Court McGee fight. I needed to prolong past the first round. That was going to be the key because I knew I was going to be in the shit for the first 5 minutes. We're not betting against absolute putzes. We're betting against guys that are upper echelon mixed martial artists who train with some of the best guys in the world who are in abnormal shape. Did you see the tail of the tape on this guy? Like, was he 2% body fat? At what point do you die? At what point do you die because your body is like, dog, we need some fat. What's going on here? No, I don't know. Guram Kudalits was shredded. And, he fights like a guy that's absolutely built, shredded, comes at you. And he did that in the first round. I thought Ismagulov was doing a good job of landing in the first round, putting up the jab, starting to just like pitter patter away with these smaller strikes that were going to pay dividends down the road. Maybe he's winning on the numbers, but the crushing blows coming from Kudalits kind of were the tail of the first round. He touched him up. He landed some pretty big shots. I would say, you know, Ismagulov's visibly hurt. He's knocked off balance a few times. I'm screaming at him, you know, clinch up, do something. He shoots a few takedowns. Ill-advised. Try taking this guy down. Like, holy crap, he's physically strong. He's got nowhere to go. He's on his back pedal. It's a decent first round. I just tend to score that first round for Guram Kudalits. But this is okay because we need to get out of the first round. We're okay with losing the first. It's no problem. We need to extend him. Now we're extending him. Need to pick up the pace. He comes out in the second round, man on fire. Starts pressing forward, starts trying to beat him to the punch. And Guram Kudalits, as scary and menacing as he is in the first, he does tend to slow down. You saw in his debut. You're seeing it in this fight. He's also coming off like a 2-year-long layoff due to injuries, so don't know how good his cardio is. But Ismagulov is starting to touch him up, get a lot more confident, wins the second round. We got a 1-1 going into the third, and I'm feeling really good about it. So I just won the second round. I can see the momentum swing happening. Ismagulov's looking fresh, like he's good to go. And Guram Kudalits is looking a little tired and lethargic. But he comes in that third round, and he knows he needs to win the third round. And Kudalits comes to fight. Now, again, I tend to score that fight for that round for Ismagulov. I just thought he landed, you know, maybe the cleaner stuff. Was there technically by the numbers? I think Guram Kudalits outstruck him like 30-29. I just was going by the cleaner work, you know, maybe body language, just not like bias aside. I just thought that Ismagulov did better work in the third round. So was it a close fight? Yeah. Was it a competitive fight? Absolutely. Did it deserve to be a, you know, split decision type fight? Yeah. Okay. Fair. I mean, I scored for Ismagulov. So I would have given it, there's 3 of me. I think it would have been unanimous for Ismagulov, but yeah, I could see somebody saying first round for Kudalits, maybe third round for Kudalits. He came alive, but finally get a shoey bet in our favor, goes for Ismagulov. And of course he does hit that by decision, which is okay. But yeah, like, why would you ever bet against Guram Kudalits again going forward, especially if he's a little more active? Like, if his body holds up and he can start fighting 2-3 times a year. Like, he's a good striker, good power guy that it's very hard to push back. His wrestling seems pretty all right. His ground game seems pretty all right. Takedown defense seems, you know, definitely on point. Trains at a super high level. Still isn't super old by no stretch of the imagination. Like, yeah, I think he would have a bright future, but cardio, maybe something he needs to shore up a little bit. I don't even know if it's cardio as much as he just throws so damn heavy all the time. That's just not sustainable. But of course, that's something you could learn in time, I suppose. He does have 15 pro fights, but he doesn't fight enough to maybe have that comfort yet quite in the octagon. But I don't know. Scary guy that I'm not interested in really betting a whole lot against going forward. And for my boy Ismagulov, improves to 24-1. He's probably not going to jump into title contender status anytime soon because this is an exciting fight, but he himself is just not the sexiest guy. The UFC is trying to market people with fun styles who have highlight reels that fans get behind. Meanwhile, he's a foreign fighter out of Kazakhstan. Their fighters don't typically get a whole lot of international favoritism. He doesn't have some big community rallying behind him, buying pay-per-views and merchandise. He doesn't knock guys out. This is, I think, 5 straight decision wins for him in the UFC. He's very difficult to put away, and he's very surgical, you know? Like, you can bum rush him and try to make something happen, and Guram did, but eventually he slows it to his pace, and I thought that's why he won the second and third round, was he fought, you know, he made the fight the kind of fight that he wanted, and I thought he thrived in them. So anyways, I get that one for Damir Ismagulov, but we escaped.
Hockey fans, the pursuit of the Stanley Cup is on, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has an unbelievable offer for the most exciting playoffs in sports. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $150 in free bets, no matter what, win or lose. Looking to turn a small bet into a big payday during the playoffs? With DraftKings same-game parlays, you can do just that. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like which team will win, how many total goals will be scored, and more. It's your shot at an even bigger payout. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, and best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DOP. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win and get $100 in free bets, no matter what. That's code DOP at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL.
Joaquin Buckley versus Albert Duraev. So I talked a big game during the week about how we were taking Joe Lauzon as an underdog, how we were going to take Natalia Silva as an underdog. We were going to take Joaquin Buckley as an underdog. And when at the time, Tony Kelly. Switched off the Tony Kelly one. Switched off the Natalia Silva one. God damn. And then Joe Lauzon canceled. So at this point, I'm effectively down to one underdog. Took one underdog. What a bitch move on my part. But hopefully my one underdog can get the thing done. Joaquin Buckley. Again, there's got to be a little bit of like a speculation because like Buckley seems like he's got a lot of skills and he's still only 28 years old. So like my belief is that he is going to be improving fight to fight. And then you see a couple of his most latest performances and the cardio doesn't seem quite there. I thought his wrestling looked better his last time out, but it wasn't really a wrestler. He was more of a striker. He's kind of getting away from that. And I don't know. I think you wonder where his head's at. You hear some negative stories about him in the media every so often. Just I don't know. And Albert Duraev, of course, you know, he's Russian and he can wrestle and this and that. But Duraev's fought a fairly low level. His chin doesn't seem to be all that good. His striking defense is really not all that good. And what I didn't know is that Buckley and Duraev had been training partners. When we did the preview show, I just thought Buckley could stuff the takedowns and then catch him with something standing. But when you saw midweek or later in the week, when Buckley came out and was like, I trained with this guy, guarantee he's going to be shooting. The second I blink, this guy's shooting, right? So at that point, it's like, hey, there's a familiarity in that when you wrestle somebody, you're pretty much going 100%. That's how you wrestle somebody. You go 100% and you try to take them down. When you're sparring with somebody, you don't go 100%. You're not trying to hurt these guys. They're your sparring partners. They're your trading partners. Everybody's on the same page here, right? Buckley had felt that wrestling from Duraev, right? He accepted the fight when the UFC presented the option to sign on the dotted line and fight this man, known as Machete. He knew right then and there, oh yeah, I've wrestled with this guy. And I feel comfortable enough with my skill set that I think in an actual live situation fight where I can punch him in the face, his wrestling wouldn't win it for him. So he's got that confidence in him. Duraev, meanwhile, would think, oh yeah, I took this guy sometimes down to the gym and I may have even sparred with him lightly. But you never been in a wrestling situation where as you're shooting, he's punching you in the face. You never been in a sparring situation where he's loading up with his best shots, trying to take your head off. And now in a live action situation, that was exactly it. Buckley just had his number. He could stuff the takedowns. He keep the fight standing. When the fight was standing, Duraev's very mechanical. He's got an old school Sambo base, like for his striking, whereas his head's a little high up in the air, and he'll wade, try to throw something overhand, close up the distance, try to get on the inside. Against Buckley, who's just bigger, faster, stronger. I mean, he was just beating with a punch. Nice, sharp little counters. Guy has a lot of mass to him. And I mean, when he sits down on his punches, they're going to do some damage. You've seen his highlight reel with a crazy kick. And you've seen him knock out Jordan Wright with just some big overhand rights. You know that he's got that power, but he's also had some precision. And even though he wasn't knocking Duraev out, those shots were just landing to the eye and busting him up. Head kick was on display. He had a lot of weapons that he could use, and I thought he used them all extremely effectively. The two times he did get taken down, he just muscled his way right back up. His cardio looked on point. This is an excellent performance for Joaquin Buckley. And at the same conversation, not a good performance from Duraev, who I didn't think looked good against Roman Kopylov in his last fight for the UFC. And then, of course, in this one, much of the same. His striking is not very good. He's very defensive. He's a defensive liability standing up. Like, he's not defensively sound. Doesn't keep his hands in the right places. When he does get hit, he tends to wear a lot of damage or get dropped. It's not aesthetically pleasing for the judges. You're going to drop rounds standing. Okay, well, get to the wrestling. But he's not one of these Dagestani guys. He's not one of these Chechen guys. He's not one of these guys that'll just stick to you like glue and peel you down over and over. Maybe he can get away with it against the Roman Kopylovs of the world, but even that fight he got dropped and had a whole lot of swelling going on. This fight was much of the same. Joaquin Buckley was a stiffer test, was not able to pass it. At 33 years old and with a fairly limited skill set, I would say Duraev could be a gatekeeper journeyman if he chooses to, but the guy's got beaucoup money in his own personal life. So I don't know. This was a big-time setback for him. And for Buckley, excellent, because he does have a bright future. You know what he's capable of. And when he does what he's capable of, solid fighter. It's just maybe it's a mental lapse. Maybe it's fight IQ. Maybe it's he's not quite comfortable quite yet. You know, he does make mistakes from time to time. But when he puts it all together, dangerous. And on Saturday, he put it all together. Kevin Holland versus Tim Means. If there was literally one good thing I did on this entire card, it was that Kevin Holland by submission, baby. I know I've preached the Kevin Holland by submission a little bit in the past where it's like he doesn't have a BJJ black belt. He could, in theory, lock something up. The thing with Cowboy Oliveira, because I tried to hit the Holland by submission there, is when he hurt Oliveira just toppled over. That was it. So you didn't have to try to choke him out. You could just punch him a few more times. The ref was going to stop it. Tim Means, meanwhile, has a pretty good chin. He's been wobbled. He's been hurt. But the guy's got a pretty good chin. He's not just going to allow himself to get knocked out. What he will do is he'll kind of have put himself in a compromising situation. And when the choke gets slapped on, he tends to tap, I wouldn't say quick. Guy's a warrior. Guy's a dirty bird. All respect on his name. This guy's the man. But there is a bit of a pattern. He has 4 losses in the UFC by submission. Each time he starts off hot. When the going gets bad, he tends to give up the submission loss, right? When the submission gets locked in, he don't fight it for a while. He gets locked in and he gets tapped out. And so the theory was live in this fight as well, that if Kevin Holland just hurt him standing, that he would probably just give him the submission. And of course, Holland, BJJ black belt under Travis Lutter, he would have the grappling to recognize, I could just submit this guy instead of punching away, and that hopefully he would take it. As far as the stand-up goes, Tim Means is still, a slick counter striker. He's still got some dangerous striking to him, but Holland is fast. Technically, there's some lapses in his game. Like, he tends to just dart into the pocket very quickly, sometimes with his hands low. But because he's so fast, he's got quick reflexes. He's big at 170. He can kind of get away with that tall man defense. He'll dart in the pocket, land 2-3 big punches, and then sway back. Sway back, miss the counter, jump back out of range. He's got fast footwork. He's obviously a very athletic guy. He's got the grappling in his back pocket. Wrestling, well, he's always been a shit wrestler at middleweight against guys that are fighting for world titles, right? Guys that are ranked in the top 5. The Derek Brunsons of the world. Dude took down Yoel Romero 3 times once upon a time. Yeah, he's going to struggle against them. At 170, and he did get taken down by Tim Means, but he's way stronger at 170 in that if he does get taken down, he can get back up. He can throw it off a couple attempts. Tim Means got him with the first one, okay? Second attempt, he's got a low bite on it. You see immediately Kevin Holland reach back, grab the elbow, pop it up. Now all of a sudden the grip's higher up. He can dig the underhook, circle out of harm's way, land a knee to the body. It's like this guy's been wrestling in the gym. No doubt about it. He's still young. He's in good shape. He talks all types of shit out there, which does get in your head for sure. Good fight for Kevin Holland. Good fight for Kevin Holland. Got the submission win, which is like a plus 400 prop. Good time. And of course, jumps up in the division. He's exciting. When I talked about the UFC wants to market guys, this is someone you could market. He's got excellent personality. He's got a good fan-friendly fight style. He goes out there and tries to put it on you. His losses, yeah, he got smothered by Brunson. He got smothered by Vettori. But he's on his back talking shit the whole time. Trying to talk to Khabib in the side. Trying to talk to Dana Cormier and get a little bit of wrestling advice real quick. Like, the guy's an entertaining personality. He just needs the skills to back it up. At 185, yeah, I don't think it was going to pan out for him. At 170, he's going to leapfrog a lot of guys because of that, his style, his personality, all of that fan friendliness to it. He'll leapfrog some guys. And in the same token, like, can he go out and fight a Kamaru Usman? No, because Kamaru Usman is going to smother him. But at some point, Usman, who's 7 years older than him or something, is going to say, you know what, my knees are hurt, my body's broken, I'm going to move on to the next thing. Could Leon Edwards go out there and kick the crap out of Kevin Holland? I'm not so sure. Right now, yes. 2 years down the road, I'm not so sure. Holland is rapidly improving, and of course, the rest of the division, the Colby Covingtons of the world, they're getting a little bit older. There's always going to be those Khamzat Chimayans that might be able to come out of left field and just take a guy like Holland down and absolutely smoke him. But because he's got the black belt, because he's survived against Brunson, he survived against, went 5 rounds with Marvin Vettori, didn't he? Because he has that ability to go 5 rounds and defend himself well with his jiu-jitsu, he could be one of those guys that can maybe stretch out a fighter later on and then catch them later on. But all I'm saying is he's got a bright future at 170, and it's exciting times for him. And for Tim, as long as this man wants to fight, allow the man to fight. He's super entertaining. He's super professional. He always brings it. He's in these crazy scraps. Was him fighting Kevin Holland, a ranked contender, a great idea? Probably not. But could he still fight other guys, older guys in the division, younger guys in the division that are a little bit experienced or inexperienced? Yeah, for sure. I mean, we all like to see him compete. It's just this was a high-level step up for him, and Kevin Holland proved to be the guy heading forward. Tim Means showing a little bit of regression. And then Josh Emmett, Calvin Kattar. So the night hasn't been great, but it could be salvaged here. We just need Calvin Kattar win, and Calvin Kattar win by decision. That could save things. It is, of course, going to save it's the top pick of the PRP. I can't hedge out. The plan was to hedge out, but I would need at least 3 tickets in line. Daukus getting smoked out of there has killed that ability, so I just got to let this thing ride. And then, of course, the straight-up picks haven't been all that great, but we're coming off a nice Holland by submission prop. let's just finish it up with the Calvin Kattar plus 125 by decision. And I'm not going to complain robbery. Like, I did score the fight for Calvin Kattar. He won 3 and 4, and I really didn't have him losing the first 3 rounds. But of course, the argument's there. Like, the first round, Calvin Kattar's landing he's just landing a slightly heavier pace, maybe. The jab's on point. He's moving well, but the heavier punches are 100% coming from Josh Emmett. So it's a close round. You almost got to favor Josh Emmett. The second round, Calvin Kattar does excellent work, but of course, by the numbers, Emmett's got him edged out a bit. I don't know. I don't have Kattar losing the first 2, but if that was the case in the third round, well, there's another argument here that Josh Emmett wins the third round. So Saul D'Amato is the only guy that scored the first 3 for Josh Emmett. And of course, he's the worst judge in the game. So I had it 29-28, Josh Emmett, heading into the fourth, but we needed a Calvin Kattar 4th and 5th round. One of the judges did see Calvin Kattar winning 4th and 5th. One of the judges did not. Media seems to be split. Fans seem to be split. It all just really comes down to your style. Calvin Kattar outstruck him. Those are the facts. He outstruck him like 140 to 106. That being said, the better shots, the heavier shots did seem to come from Josh Emmett. But now, to me, this is a little bit of a misconception, right? So, guy punches you twice, 2 good shots in the face, 2 nice, maybe 2, 3 jabs clean in the face, and you counter with a big old right hand. Oh, shit, big old right hand, which is partially blocked, by the way. Josh Emmett's face is showing visible damage. He's busted up. He's bleeding. Those jabs, as small as they look, right, as ineffective as they look, as light as they look, they're adding up, and they're doing some actual damage. Whereas Calvin Kattar seemed to wear most of Josh Emmett's punches well. They were heavy. They looked good, It looked like he was swinging harder because he was swinging harder. He was swinging heavier. But Calvin Kattar was beating him to the punch. And so you see this in boxing all the time, right, where it's like, oh, Marcos Maidana versus Floyd Mayweather 1 is an excellent example. It's like, well, how did Marcos Maidana not win that fight? He came forward the whole time, beat the crap out of him the whole time up against the ropes. But all those punches, for the most part, blocked. And like the small little jabs that Floyd would land would actually land. So boxing judges tend to not favor come forward action. They tend to favor Olympic style, especially. You're just hitting the guy. What's a clean shot? You're boxing a guy. You're getting scored for that. MMA, not quite the same. Calvin Kattar outboxed him. He landed the jabs. He did some damage. He did the prettier work. I thought it was enough to win 3 of the 5 rounds. But at the same token, it's like Josh Emmett came forward. He threw some big, heavy shots. It looked like he was getting through. It looked like he was doing some damage. He did fluster Kattar with a few good shots for sure. It's not like, Kattar just walked through all of his punches like it was nothing. Guy was throwing heavy, but he's the UFC knockdown leader. The guy's got absolute lead in both hands. He does that to people, right? You have to expect that he's going to sit down and throw heavy, but it was kind of the work rate to me was going to win Kattar the fight. And at the end of it, I thought the work rate was there and enough for him to win the fight, but not something I would cry robbery on. So yeah, he got edged out, and unfortunately it went the other way. Josh Emmett wins the decision. So whatever. Happy Father's Day. Terrible way to go into the weekend. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. You got a couple bad spots, got a couple bad reads, maybe some bad luck here and there, but it's the MMA game. I can't just be coming out and apologizing if I get a bad pick wrong. I think a lot of us were on the same side. A lot of us had the same picks. And of course, in another world, Calvin Kattar gets the decision, and all of a sudden things are a little bit different. In a different world, Daukaus doesn't get headbutted in the first 30 seconds, allows to find his rhythm and kind of makes things happen for himself. Like, there's always the coulda, shoulda, woulda. And it's sports gambling, right? So it happens in basketball, happens in tennis, happens in hockey, happens in everything. Unfortunately, it's been happening to us recently in MMA. So all you can do is put your big boy pants back on and get back at it next week. So Wednesday, Paul and I will be doing another preview show. And hopefully, I got my own MMA card coming up this Saturday as well, June 25th. So just like the last 7 weeks, it's just been really busy, but it's going to be fight week for me. So I'm super busy. Obviously we're going to do the preview show. I got to buckle down and make some serious good picks. Just don't really have the time. So hopefully my boy Paul shows up with his A game. I'll do as much study as I can between here and there. And then for the most part, yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sticking by the show. And thanks for checking out the recap, especially if it is Father's Day and you got shit to do and you did squeeze us in. I salute you. But anyways, I got to go cook up some steaks for my old man. Got to go meet up with him right now. So that's what I'm off to. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend. We'll catch you guys soon.